thank you very much for your service to our country, and I can't emphasize that enough, and I think all of our colleagues here very much appreciate your service. I don't want to repeat a lot of what was said, but I agree very much with what Senator Durbin said about where we are today. And I really believe and the President said this last night, if you look at the situation we're in and why we went in, and the focus was on a government, as you have said in your testimony, that was sheltering terrorists. There were training camps. They had organized this terrorist attack on us. That's all gone, and bin Laden has been brought to justice. And it just seems to me that we're at the point where we should be looking at what many of our NATO allies, I remember over and over again, in the period when President Bush was there and organizing the NATO allies, they would say over and over, this needs to be Afghan-led in terms of security. This needs to be Afghan-led. And I don't know how we get to that point on the Afghans leading on security unless you have some kind of deadline. Senator Levin, I know, our Armed Services Chairman, has said several times that a deadline focuses the mind. It obviously lets us know when we pass off, and it lets them know. Do you think we have a deadline right now in terms of when all of our combat forces will be out of Afghanistan and when they will really take the lead on security?
Senator, I certainly do. I think that has been the agreed-upon path that was adopted at Lisbon. We have a final deadline of 2014. The Afghans accepted it. We made it very clear that that was it. And we have a glide path to 2014 that the President promised in his West Point speech, which he is now beginning to order the implementation of. So I agree with you that we needed to set a deadline in order to make it clear to the Afghans that there would be a transition. And I would also just underscore that with 2.5 years ago, when the President began this assessment, there was so little to the Afghan security forces. It just was not even credible. And, for whatever reason, what had been done before had not worked. But I think it is absolutely fair to say that it is working. There is still a lot that has to be done in terms of building up and professionalizing. But Afghans in some areas now are in the lead. They've had the lead in Kabul for a year. I remember talking to General Petraeus after he took command in Afghanistan. He said, Kabul is right now a lot more peaceful than Baghdad was when we started. So, I know how frustrating it is because we have been there for 10 years, and there are lots of factors that we can't, really hold accountable or manage the way we would like. But I also think it's only fair to look at what has been accomplished. And it has been accomplished in part against the backdrop of the deadline. So yes, we do have a deadline and we are acting upon it.
And your sense is our deadline is at the end of 2014, that all of the combat forces for the United States will be out of Afghanistan. That was the agreement, and that was the agreement with NATO ISAF and the agreement with the Afghans. Now, we use the term a lot, and you hear this about conditions on the ground. And the thing that is dependent here, if you use the term, you say, well, it's going to depend on conditions on the ground, then we're going to talk about how prepared their forces are to step up to the plate. And from all the reports I have heard, and you just mentioned this a minute ago, that they have come along, but they may not be ready. And I know that there was a UN official, a high UN official, that and he was a controversial one, and he left, and he gave a talk on 60 Minutes, an interview, and his opinion was it would take 100 years to get the police and the Afghan police and army to the point where we would feel they were acceptable. So I just hope that we're not going down a road where we're saying, well, we do have a deadline, but it's going to be based on conditions on the ground, and we're going to change direction based on the fact that the Afghan army and police, in our judgment, aren't able to take this over. And as Senator Durbin said, I hope that we can quicken this. I hope that we can move more quickly to an accelerated transition to Afghan security. And if you're able to do that, I'm going to be here to support you. And I, once again, thank you for your service. And thank you, Chairman Kerry, for holding these hearings and allowing all of us to participate. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Udall. Thank you very much, Senator Udall.